Hi, Brenton Ford here. Welcome to another Effortless Swimming News Update. Today we're looking at pulling through in freestyle and keeping pressure on the water by setting yourself up correctly. So if you look at Lysandra here, one thing that you'll notice when she pulls through is that she gets into a good high elbow position early on. You can see that she's got her elbow elevated here. A lot of swimmers who aren't getting into the right catch position will have their elbows down here. All right, you can see Lysandra's got it elevated, which is exactly what we're looking for. And the other thing that you'll notice is that she's got her armpit or her shoulder fairly close to the surface when she's pulling through, and it's kind of close to her chin, so she's not dropping her shoulder. And what dropping her shoulder would do is cause her to drop that elbow as well. So if we're looking at a contrast here, if you look at the swimmer in the background, you can see that he's already dropped his elbow. You can see there that it's dropped early on, and that his shoulder's fairly low in the water. It's not quite close to his chin like Lysandra's got there. Okay, so those two things are what's going to help you get into a good catch position early on. And if we look at Lysandra finishing off her stroke here, she manages to keep her forearm and her hand together, so she keeps pressure on the water that way, and she's pushing the water backwards. So you can see as she finishes off, she's making sure that her forearm and her hand are pretty much parallel with the end wall. Right, so that's a good way to make sure you keep pressure on the water, and it's going to help you increase your distance per stroke. So let's just recap on that. Two things that you really want to focus on is keeping your shoulder or your armpit fairly close to the surface as you're pulling through, and you want to make sure that you set up your stroke really well with a slightly elevated elbow, unlike the swimmer here who's dropped their elbow early on. Now, two drills that we teach in our clinics and in our online programs, like the Effortless Freestyle program, are top to bottom scull and catch up freestyle. So we don't like to give swimmers a whole bunch of drills to do. We'd like to keep it specific for the things that they need to work on. So if you feel like you might be dropping your elbows a little bit early on in your pull through, then I'd recommend these two drills. So let's take a look at them. So if we look at top to bottom scull, what we're really doing here is sculling like we normally would out the front, but we gradually work it through all the way back to our hips. And we've covered this in other YouTube videos as well, but top to bottom scull is one of my favorite drills for people to get a good feel for the water and where the elbow position should be as they're pulling through. I like to use a pull buoy for this because then you really get a sense for if you're actually moving forward when you're sculling, because if you're kicking out the back, then you'll move forward regardless. So using a pull buoy for this drill is really good. So you can see here that Jenny's, as she's sculling, she's in that correct elbow position. You can see her elbows are slightly elevated and her hands and her fingertips are below those elbows. All right, so that's what we're looking to do. And then as she gets through here, she's practicing that freestyle position, pull position, that she'd normally swim with. All right, now obviously you're going outside, you're going wider than you normally would and closer on the inside when you normally would as you're sculling. But really the thing we're looking for is the angle that the arm's making with the back wall. All right, so top to bottom scull is a great drill to practice, especially in your warm-up. It really gets a good feeling happening early on for your session. Now let's take a look at the second drill, catch up freestyle. So catch up freestyle is also a really good drill to do. And the way you do it is you make sure you keep one hand out the front as though you're swimming normal freestyle, and you keep it out the front until your other hand comes through. So you can see Lysandra here is entering the water while her other arm's still out front. And what she's doing here, you can see with her left arm, is she's keeping her elbow up, slightly lowering her left hand, and then pulling through in that correct pull through position. All right, so it's a good drill to isolate each arm and to really be able to practice that high elbow position, lowering your hand, getting into that right position as you pull through. So these two drills here are really what I recommend for swimmers who are having trouble finding that high elbow position early on. All right, so don't forget to keep your armpit and your shoulder fairly close to the surface as you're pulling through. You don't want it right up here, all right? You don't want it completely at the surface, but don't let it drop down. Don't let it be down here as you're pulling through. All right, so those two things are really going to help you have a better catch and pull through. To learn more ways to swim faster freestyle, I recommend checking out our Effortless Freestyle program, which is available on our website. We've also got some more clinic dates coming up, so stay tuned. And don't forget to check back on the website for more videos each week.